Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Azeroth Daily for the 16th of May 2011. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of WoW news and comment. In the headlines today, Method has released a video of the legendary quest chain that you can see going on in the background there. They were able to gain access to it through a Blizzard GM, although nobody else seems to have been given said access. Now, I don't really know why it is that one guild seems to have got access to it, but nobody else has. It is a little bit weird. There is no way to trigger it on the PTR without GM assistance at present, but I suppose I'm kind of glad that a competent guild like Method would be the first ones to test it, since hopefully they will notice and get resolved any bugs or problems with it. You can click the link in the description below this video to watch the entire thing, and it's fairly lengthy, it's about 10 minutes, and it also contains a rather large amount of voice acting, so it is worth watching on their page. The Encounter Journal that's been described by Blizzard for the last couple of months is now on the PTR, and you can watch a full video on the subject by clicking the link in the description below this video. This video is by me, so it's very easy to find on the channel. Just go to the latest WoW content playlist, or click the link in the description below. The new Shaman and Warlock Tier 12 armor sets have been made available over on the Blizzard site. You can go check them out in full if you so desire. There are multiple angles and there are plenty of ways to view it, so it's well worth doing, and these sets do appear to be complete. The Druid set, which has been leaked on MMO Champion, is by the looks of it not yet entirely finished, so they haven't released that officially yet, and I would expect that to come out perhaps in the next few days. Blizzard has updated the 4.2 PTR patch notes, including some very useful information, such as all existing Valor points in the currency tab will be converted to Justice points, so bear that in mind. That shouldn't actually make any difference to you at all, because all of the Valor gear is going to be moving down to the Justice tier anyway, so it really doesn't make a blind bit of difference one way or the other, but just in case you guys are expecting to hold on to your Valor points after the patch, that is not going to happen. Also, very importantly, players are now free to dance in combat without causing graphical errors. Oh yes, thank God for that. There's also a new achievement in the game which involves saving all 4 prisoners before they're sacrificed in the Zoloman dungeon on heroic difficulty, so there you go, that's basically an achievement for doing the bear run. There've also been a fairly large selection of changes to the classes, and I would recommend that you go and check out the full list by clicking the link in the description below this video. The Arena Pass is here, ladies and gentlemen. It has opened, and you have the ability to create up to 3 level 85 characters upon registration for it. And it looks like the top 1,000 teams will be the guys that get the Vanquisher title on their live servers. And as far as I can tell, just by buying the Arena Pass, you do get access to the Mercurus Armored Murloc pet, assuming that you haven't got it already. There are 3 weeks remaining in the practice period if you wish to check that out and see exactly what is going on. The latest roundup of EU community news has been released with a focus, of course, on foreign language sites. We have Hungarian site WoW-Hungary that's got another history class on the subject of Garona Half-Orcan, as well as Polish site WoWcenter.pl, who have done an interview with one of the top Polish guilds, Gilus, and the Czech and Slovak site WoWfan.cz has got an installment of Lord of his Pack, which is the translation of Gen Greymane's story. There's plenty more foreign language news, as well as a roundup of this week's comics, and the noteworthy forum threads available in the description below this video. Now, with that, it's time for your Daily Blues. Fudgesicle is complaining that the new Call to Arms system is flipping the finger to DPS. By his logic, they work just as hard to clear the dungeon, so they should also get rewards. You do get rewards. It's called completing the dungeon. These are incentives to ensure that the queue times for you are shorter. That is the reward. Also, you're a druid. You can roll all the classes. Consider yourself lucky. You can simply respec if you so desire. I'm a mage. I don't have that option. Zahim comes with a response that says, well, it's not the most elegant solution, but we were forced to add incentives to lower the queue times. Perhaps there's a better way to do it, but they weren't able to achieve that in a short time frame. So this is, as they're admitting, pretty much a stopgap solution. And he also points out that if the queue times were equal for every class role, they wouldn't have had to add this system in the first place. Yes, a little bit problematic. It's unfortunate that they don't seem to be looking at the bigger picture. Why don't people tank? They're not going to start tanking just because they get a few little treats at the end of a dungeon. You have to look specifically at why people do not tank and what's actually wrong with the system. I'm hoping that Blizzard are doing this internally and they're just not talking about it. Ghostcrawler's released a couple of scheduled PTR raid tests. One is actually going on as I record this video. It's for Alice Raza, the 10-player boss in the Firelands, and the US has one as well. You can see the times up on the screen right there. Bear in mind, these are in Pacific time, so if you want to get the EU server time, then you need to roll it forward by 9 hours. Coming to the PTR test realms are, as for the rest of this test, completely borked. You can't even get into the raid dungeon, it crashed the server, all manner of nonsense is going on over on the EU test realms. I certainly hope that the US guys are having more luck, but by the looks of it, they aren't. So, yeah, I don't really know what exactly they're getting out of this particular test, other than figuring out that lots of people want to test their content and they can't because it's broken. There you go. Kind of irritating. Whatever the case, we do have information on Tuesday's raid testing. There's going to be a difference between EU and US. Balrog is going to be tested on the EU, and Major Dawn with Staghelm will be tested on the US. Bear in mind that these schedules are subject to change at a moment's notice. And with that, it's time for your daily grind. As the JJ Keishan line in the Burning Steppes continues, we continue our sneaky little adventures disguised as one of the Blackrock. This quest, called I Am the Law and I Am the Lash, involves a rather more extreme version of the quest in the Valley of Trials, whereby you had to wake up a few lazy peons. In this case, you have to use the Blackrock Cudgel of Discipline on 20 troops in the Field of Honor. But not only that, if they unmask you at any point, you must kill them before they can alert everybody else. So it's a pretty cool quest line, and if you like being an abusive, domineering, evil bastard, for the Alliance, of course, then you will definitely enjoy this quest. And with that, it's time for your weekly feature. This is Machinimondays. Well, I don't think I've seen anything this epic since Tales of the Past 3. This is a video by Pygmy Productions, and it goes by the name of Return of the Ashbringer 2, Raiders of Northrend, and the full-length machinima is 85 minutes long. Now, the first 15 minutes are available on YouTube, and then the rest are available on Warcraft Movies. I've put a link in the description below this video in order to watch the entire thing. And this is an extremely lengthy, and I might add body-acted machinima. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is, it's a machinima where all of the action is done in-game and they do not use model viewer. That in itself is incredibly impressive. And as a direct result of that, while some of the combat scenes don't perhaps look as crazy as they could, they do look realistic within the context of the game, and we don't have the usual animation and imposition problems that you get from using model viewer. So, this entire thing obviously takes a long time to watch, but I think it's very well paced, the story is extremely entertaining. Now, the voice acting is a bit of a mixed bag, unfortunately. Jesse Cox does a stellar job, but the rest of them are a little bit shaky. I believe Mike Donaghy is in this from Tales of the Past as well. He's okay, but the rest of them, some of them just aren't really all that good, and you can also tell that there is a very large difference between the mic quality of the voice actors, which is also something that takes me out of the experience. Also, for some reason, the aspect ratio of this is really weird. It's actually a 4:3 aspect ratio film, which is kind of weird in the days of YouTube, bearing in mind that this film only came out, I believe, last week. So, I don't really know why that is. I think it's probably because he started filming it a very long time ago, and as a result, he's had to stick with 4:3. I have to assume that's what he did. Whatever the case, he has a great choice of music. He doesn't use too many tracks from films. He's got a little bit of music in there from The Village, as well as from Battlestar Galactica, and things like that. But for the most part, it is pretty much all using the World of Warcraft soundtrack. It is extremely good. It really, really is. I am very happy to watch something of this caliber. I like this more than Tales of the Past 3, I think because it seems more grounded in the reality of the game, whereas Tales of the Past, while an amazing piece of work, was a little bit too fantastical in places. Some combat scenes that looked like they were pulled from an anime as opposed to from World of Warcraft, and I really do like the fact that they did body act all of this. It's an amazing piece of work, it's an awful lot of effort put into it, and as a direct result, I can give it no less than 5 trolls out of 5. I would highly recommend that you go and watch it on Warcraft Movies to watch the entire thing. It is definitely worthy of watching in an evening as opposed to watching a film. It is very, very good indeed, so congratulations to them. And with that, it's time for the mailbox. This one comes in from Greamy, who says, I would appreciate your opinion on this. I played a Warlock from late vanilla to the end of Burning Crusade, and I got the title Hand of a Dahl. In SSC, while Warlock tanking Leothorus the Blind, I had a light blub moment. I wanted to tank, not just DPS. So since Wrath of the Lich King, I played a warrior tank and have accumulated way too much stuff, including Thunder Fury, to ever want another main toon again. Back to the question, should Blizzard make the titles like Hand of a Dahl and Champion of the Naru, Grand Marshal and High Warlord account-wide, instead of being locked to one toon, which you may or may not play anymore? I don't see why not, honestly. I think that if you've earned it, then you've earned it, and you should be able to use it. It's not like it's a piece of gear. It's something that you've earned on one character, and it might be something that's not available anymore, really hard to acquire. Something like High Warlord, for instance, is, as far as I'm aware, completely impossible to get. I mean, I have Bloodguard on mine. I think that's as high as I got in terms of the old PvP ranking system back in vanilla. And it would be nice to be able to use that on other characters. I think it does give some characters a sense of individuality, but if you're not playing them anymore, then that sense of individuality is irrelevant. Not only to you, but to the people that would actually see it and think, huh, that's unique, I wonder where that came from. That's the cool thing about unique stuff. It makes people feel a little bit more excited to see something that they haven't seen in the game before. It dredges them out of the ordinary daily routine because they've just spotted something that's, huh, that's unusual. I wonder what's on with that. And even then, I think that that kind of thing does make people a little bit more enthused to play the game, even if it's in a very, very small way. So I don't see any reason not to have a account-wide title. It's not like you can really use it to confuse anybody or mislead them. You earned that. It doesn't matter if it was on that character, but you earned it. So why not? This one comes in from Voltaine that says, my complaint involves the Justice Point situation. I know there have been many complaints over the change of badges to Justice Points, but this stresses me out further with casual players. I have a job, I work 6 days a week and I play WoW in my spare time. I raid with my guild on Saturday nights. The fact that you need to put so much effort into getting those heirlooms, in my opinion, is unfair to casual players who don't necessarily have the time to do random dungeons every day all the time. It annoys me ever so much. What are your thoughts on this? Okay, well, there's a few things. Firstly, you don't have to do it every day. You can, in fact, do it whenever you like now. They changed it so that you can do the 7 random dungeons at any point. Doesn't matter when. Also, you don't really need to do random dungeons to get Justice Points. Those are for Valor Points. You can go into any dungeon. Hell, you could walk into one of the Cataclysm dungeons. You'd still get Justice Points that way. And also, you're not really limited in the amount that you can get. So if you have spare time at one point, you can do a few dungeons, get your Justice Points. If you're talking about time invested, then why exactly do you really need a lot of heirloom gear? Because it seems to me that you're saying, well, I don't have a lot of time, but I'm willing to level up a bunch of alts, which also takes quite a lot of time. Now, I know that obviously using heirlooms will accelerate that, but it doesn't seem to me like all that valid a concern. I think heirloom gear should not be something that everyone has by default when they're doing alts. It should be something that you can work towards if you want, and it's something that you should plan in advance. If you're thinking, well, you know what I would really like to roll? I'd like to roll a warrior. And I want to do that at some point in the future, so you know what, I'm going to try and prepare for it. And honestly, heirloom gear is also used as a sink for Justice Points, because right now, what's the point in having Justice Points? Most of us can't even buy anything with them. Hell, I only hit like 85, last week, and I have no use for Justice Points. That was pretty damn fast, wasn't it? So that's the reason why that gear is available with Justice Points, because it's something to spend it on. And it's viewed as optional, it's viewed as something which is a bit of a luxury. So I don't really agree that they need to make the acquisition of heirlooms any easier. What I would like to see is the idea of going back into older dungeons in order to get items that you can then convert into heirlooms. Let's say, for instance, the Arcanite Reaper, which is a terrible example because that's crafted. Let's try the Valor Shoulders. Valor Shoulders are, of course, a drop. They come from the Blackrock Spire, if I recall correctly. They're a drop from Warchief Rend Blackhand. Now, you can now get polished Spoilers of Valor. Why is it that you cannot get normal Spoilers of Valor and then go through some kind of quest line in order to polish them? Maybe you could put some crafting elements in there. You could make it more interesting than it currently is, and that would give an alternative to gathering Justice Points. And while it's still going to take time, that seems to be a good idea simply because it gives you an alternative method. Everything right now is casual friendly. If you're talking about heirlooms, getting Justice Points is the most casual friendly thing in the world. You can drop into a dungeon whenever you have the time. You can get into one very easily, you can acquire Justice Points, and they just keep racking up. I thoroughly disagree with the idea that time-consuming stuff is not casual-friendly. What is not casual-friendly is something which requires you to deliberately schedule a fairly long period of time, because often casual players don't have that luxury. They can't schedule the game that way. They can't just put their life on hold in order to do something within the game. That's the difference as far as I'm concerned. A hardcore player will willingly schedule their life around the game, whereas a casual player will schedule the game around their life. Justice points and the dungeon finder and things like that are some of the most casual, friendly things around. I don't see how you could make them any friendlier. What you're effectively asking is to make them easier, and I do disagree with that. I don't see the point. I just think Blizzard should put in more choice and more methods to get a hold of these items. Okay, folks, that's been done for the day. Thank you very much for watching Azeroth Daily. Please remember to thumb it up and favorite it if you happen to like it. You don't have to do so, of course, but it does help. And I have a Postcards from Azeroth theme for this week, and this is going to be a bit of a co-op. You're going to need 2 people for this, so find yourself a friend, a guildie, or anything like that. Now, what you need to do is to ruin a perfectly good shot. So have either yourself or your friend do something very heroic or awesome or just picturesque, and then do something to ruin it in the funniest possible way. That doesn't mean just standing in front of somebody or just ruining the camera shot. Do something that completely ruins the moment. And send that in over on the Facebook page and put a little description as to what exactly is going on there. And of course, the winner of that will receive a 60-day time card for a region of their choosing. My name